So one of the favorite parts of my job is I like to travel around this country. It's I get to travel to almost all the 50 states, and then I get to, when I'm traveling, meet incredible people and just incredible activists. And what's really special is when I get a chance to meet incredible people who are solving a big problem. So heading into this election season, you're probably going to hear about Republicans spending tens of millions of dollars on minority outreach, and it's probably not going to work so well. But earlier last year, I was at an event, and I met a gentleman, Derrick, who's going to come up on stage and join me here in a second, and he was talking about a program that he was doing. He wasn't spending tens of millions of dollars. In fact, I think he's probably spending tens of hundreds of dollars. And while he's doing that, he is single-handedly making an amazing change and doing more of minority and black outreach than anyone else I've met. So with that, I'm really pleased to share with you one of the special people I've met doing this job, Derrick.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Conservatives are not racists. It's just not true. It's just not true. It drives me crazy. Before I get to the meat of the presentation and what I have to tell you how I came to be here tonight, because Adam kind of undersold it. We were together at an event where I spoke and gave a presentation somewhat similar to the one I'm going to give here. And afterwards he came up to me and said, I love what you're doing. How can we partner with you? How can we support you? I said, there's a number of ways. He told me about this thing here in April. And I said, I could come down in April and present to your people. And he said, that's possible. Let me think about it. We got a different breed of people. I don't know if they're quite ready, but let me percolate on it. I said, fine. And being the type of personality that I am, I waited all of about a week and called Adam on the phone and said, Adam, I'm free in April. I'd love to come down and present to your folks. He said, Derrick, I've been thinking about it. I've watched your YouTubes. I don't know if our people are quite ready for your style of presentation. Let me think about it some more. I said, that's fine. Hung up the phone. Waited another week. Called him again. Said, Adam, I think this is something that needs to happen in April. I'm free. I'll be glad to come. He said, Derrick, I appreciate your enthusiasm. I've been thinking about it. Our people they aren't ready. They're not quite ready. So finally I said, Adam, I'll do it for free. And he said, now they're ready. So I get no respect. So I don't have time forbids me to give a big long biography, so long short is I'm a backyard activist. I got fed up with what I saw happening in my country a number of years ago, about 6 or 8 years ago. Been a conservative for 25 years and passionate about reaching the ethnic minority community with the principles and the truth of conservatism, because conservatism works for everybody regardless of skin color, but Republicans, God bless them, just haven't figured it out in 50 years. So I said, I'll figure it out. So I started the Rocky Mountain Black Conservatives in my backyard. We would get together, members of the black community, we would invite a speaker, a conservative speaker, and talk about ways to improve our community. It grew. I live in Colorado Springs. It grew to Denver. It grew to Phoenix. Next thing you know, I'm a political activist. Happened to me. I didn't happen to it. Wasn't looking for it. Just ended up in the right place at the right time. God breathed on it, and away we go. And then last summer, so I'm going to talk to you tonight about a program I've begun. Last summer, or summer before last now, you may remember this. The Speaker of the House tweeted a picture of himself and an intern class. This is in June of 2016, so summer before last. And of course the liberals saw that and they jumped on board and they tweeted a picture of their own. I saw that and said to myself, you know what? That needs to never happen again. That needs to never happen again. We've got to do something about that. I said, that needs to never happen again. Somebody has to do something about that. Well, since somebody, everybody, nobody, and me are the same person, I launched the Conservatives of All Colors Internship Program last year. On the screen now, I can only point to on one side, but this is Evan from Arizona State University. This is Hannah from the University of Colorado. This is Kendall from Grand Canyon University. This is Afri from Oral Roberts. Catherine from Pikes Peak College. This is Gregory from Florida A&M University. This is Jamari from St. John's. Corrine from the University of Maryland. And this is Grant from the University of Northern Colorado. These 9 young people reported for work on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., working for conservative legislators last summer, and worked all summer and came home in early August. If I were to give this presentation a title, I would call it Changing DNA. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that in a minute, but changing DNA. So our interns, we put this thing together. When I say we, my team, me and a small little group of people, about 15 of me and my friends in Colorado, have been working diligently on the streets. We do our outreach the only place that it counts, on the streets. We go to the Martin Luther King festivals. We go to the NAACP meetings. We get embedded and build relationship. From that platform, we can then talk policy. And it's been successful. We've been at it for a number of years. So our interns flew to Washington, D.C. last summer. The internship itself was paid. They were paid $1,500 for a 7-week internship. These aren't kids that are in a position where they could just not make any money all summer, right? They had to have a job. We paid for their transportation, their airfare to and from Washington, D.C., and we paid for their housing. They lived in the dorms at George Washington University. So this way, when we're sitting at the kitchen table with mom and dad, we can assure them that my baby's going to have some place to lay his or her head at night. So we secured a block of dorm rooms at George Washington University. Then, while they were there in Washington, D.C., we got to send them on some excursions. I have a relationship with the American Enterprise Institute, another right-leaning think tank. They had a formal dinner, so I got them sponsored a table, and they got to go to a formal dinner and sit in an environment like this. And what they saw and what they learned was, these people don't hate me. These people don't want to see me fail. These are really nice people. We began changing their DNA. Many of you have read Arthur Brooks' amazing book, The Conservative Heart. Arthur gave each one of our interns a copy of the book, signed it, spent a few minutes talking to them, and introducing them to the economic principles of empowerment that we believe in through conservative policy. So they began getting their DNA changed. We set up opportunities for them to meet with key influencers in Washington, D.C. People who could speak to what is it like being black and working on Capitol Hill. Many of you know former Chief of Staff Paul Ryan, David Hope, black man. Senator Scott gave us some of his time. As you can see, he's a big Clemson fan, big South Carolina guy, posed for the requisite selfie with our interns, and the #1 experience, I did exit interviews with all of our interns. The #1 experience for almost all 9 of them, for 7 out of 9, was their time with Senator Scott. They said he made an impression. He was nothing like what I expected, because what they expected was what they've been seeing on MSNBC. What they expected was what they've been seeing on CNN and reading on the blogs about this Uncle Tom sellout. But then they sit with him for a couple hours and they realize that's not true. We changed their DNA. Got to spend some time with another young lady you may recognize, Congresswoman Mia Love. Got to spend some time with our interns as well. There was a lot of activity on Capitol Hill with the Korean Peninsula last year, of course, as you all recall. Well, the South Korean ambassador was in town. How many people get that photograph? So one of our interns was in an office that he was in, posed for a picture with her. That's changing her DNA. And let me tell you what I mean by that. We are all products of our formative years. Right? There are certain things that you have seen, heard, or experienced that you can never unsee, never unexperience, never unremember. Right? So my parents' generation, what my mom and dad can never unremember is dogs being turned on people, hoses being turned on people. You can't eat at this table, boy. You go around back and get your food out the back door. Signs above bathroom windows, above bathroom doors. Colored, white. My parents can never unsee that. These young people can never unremember their experience last summer. They are forever imprinted on the truth about conservatives and Republicans as a result of pictures and experiences just like this. This is Gregory from Florida A&M University, one of our historically black colleges and universities in Tallahassee. This is what he said to me in his exit interview about Congressman Trey Gowdy, for whom he worked last summer. Gregory was one of our more liberal interns. In his entrance interview, he told me that he believes people should use the bathroom that they identify with and voted for Hillary Clinton and all that stuff. By the end of the summer, his perception of Congressman Gowdy had been completely changed because he didn't learn about Congressman Gowdy from MSNBC or from reading the blogs. He learned about Congressman Trey Gowdy from Congressman Trey Gowdy. The congressman took him to lunch, to Applebee's a couple times. They sat, they talked about how he feels about the Constitution, and at the end of this summer, his DNA has been completely changed about what a great man Trey Gowdy really is. We got them a tour of the White House, so they got a little private deal. They got to go on the other side of the rope that most people don't get to go on. Picture outside of the Oval Office door. Very few people ever get that picture. If you ever do, it might be the last thing that happens to you. But we got them inside the Capitol Dome. A lot of people don't know you can go up inside of there. So we worked some connections we have on Capitol Hill and got them inside the dome. Beautiful artwork and stuff up there. Beautiful views of the city from the rotunda outside the Capitol Dome. Through some connections I have in law enforcement, we worked through the Department of Justice and got them a tour of the FBI. And they got to see the truth about law enforcement. That the truth is, law enforcement isn't just a bunch of racists that are looking for black guys to shoot. The truth is, this job is hard. And sometimes you're in a situation where lethal force is required. So they got to go through some different drills and things like that. We got them onto Fox News Radio. If you'd have asked these kids at the beginning of the summer, what are the chances you will ever be on Fox News Radio? They would have said slim and none, and Slim has left the building. But I happen to know one of the hosts, that's Jimmy Lakey of Fox News Radio, has called them and said, Jimmy, how about you put our kids on the air, talk about their experience. So they went over there and they did 2 segments with him on a half of an hour on Fox News Radio. Congressional members gave our students little certificates. This is extremely important. This thing will hang on Kendall's wall for years to come. And people will see that and say, what's that all about? I interned one summer in college for this really awesome Republican. And they treated me so well. And I learned so much. And I now have a referral network that very few other people have. His fraternity brothers and sorority sisters, they see these things and we begin to change their DNA. They're beginning to realize what I had been taught, what I've been told all this time isn't true. This is Jamari. Jamari from St. John's University. We all remember when that crazed Bernie Sanders supporting maniac went hunting Republicans with a rifle last summer. Senator Paul did some amazing work in the days following that. Horrible situation. Well, our interns didn't see it on the news, they were there. And Jamari, who interned for Congressman Pete Sessions, in his exit interview told me Congressman Sessions is an incredible man. Jamari was born in Brooklyn, New York, heart of the hood. He goes to St. John's University in New York, heart of the hood. Pete Sessions is what he would consider the prototypical redneck. Texas, cowboy hat wearing, cowboy boot wearing, slow talking Texas, the whole thing, right? Yet he went to the congressman at the baseball game and asked for a picture and told me in his exit interview, what a great man. He got to know me personally. We've changed that young man's DNA. This is very important pictures. So watch this. So this is the 2 of our interns. That's Afri from Oral Roberts. That's Kendall from Grand Canyon. So they're teeing it up. They slap the high five, and here they are on the way down. You know what these are pictures of? That's just kids having fun. And look where they are. They're in the driveway of the White House. Okay, right in front of the house that Donald Trump, the devil himself, lives in. Which is what they thought at the beginning of the summer. They stopped and took time to take this high-five selfie. You know what that says to me? We flipped the switch. They've turned a corner. All they know is that we had the time of our lives last summer. They're not thinking Republican, conservative, liberal. They're not thinking about any of that stuff. This is an imprint. They don't know it, but this is an imprint that will last them the rest of their lives. I said at the beginning, we can't have another intern class picture that looked like that last one. Well, this is Kathy McMorris Rogers' class, and that's Afri from Oral Roberts University, right there. We got one, okay? We haven't arrived, but we've left. This is Congressman Ken Buck. Congressman Buck is a tremendous friend. He's been a great supporter of this program. This is what Hannah, right here, said to me. I realize that Republican ideas aren't all bad. There's good people in both parties, there's bad. There's good ideas in both parties, there's bad. Nobody has a lock on righteousness or on virtue. Maybe we need to give them a chance. And here's some news. Congressman Buck went to a Republican retreat, Republican conference in, I think it was September or so, and presented this program in a micro kind of a way and said, these guys, we're doing something here that needs to get done. Who would be willing to host an intern? Hands went up all over the room. Republican legislators from all over the country said, I'd be willing to. And now we are sending, I've committed to 40 interns this summer. 40. 40 young African-American students from colleges and institutions from coast to coast will leave on June 3rd, report and check into their dorms at George Washington on June 3rd, show up for work on June 4th, work through July 21st, and fly home on July 22nd. We pay for everything. All they have to cover is their Metro pass. And I might even find a way to cover that, because we want this to be first class. So, having accepted the challenge of providing 40 interns, and as we speak, we are interviewing and placing them. As you sit in this room, there are interviews going on right now. I flew down, so now I'm making the rounds to our HBCs, historical black colleges and universities, trying to develop relationships with the career placement offices. I went to Florida A&M University, the oldest HBC in the state of Florida. This is about 6 weeks ago. Called ahead and had 12 students that I pre-screened, plus about 3 or 4 faculty members in the room. Gave them a presentation not unlike this one, only with a slightly different twist, of course. I interviewed these students. Of the 12, 4 of them confessed to me on the phone. I'm in Colorado, they're in Florida, nothing to lose, right? They told me on the phone that they are Black Lives Matter activists. Standing in the streets, holding signs, blocking traffic, the whole nine. I said, well, come anyway. Come hear what I have to say. And I gave them a presentation that basically sounds like, look, this has to change. We're getting nowhere. This business of looking at conservatives as the enemy is getting us nowhere. I've been on this earth 50 years. It's worse now than it ever has been. Come and hear what I have to say. So they came. So we had 12 students and 3 faculty come listen to my presentation at Florida A&M. There's a dirty selfie. But there's me and those kids. 12 students, 4 Black Lives Matter activists. I got back to my hotel room, woke up the next morning, checked my inbox. You know how many applications I had to become interns? 12. 12. Every single one of them said, he's right. We've got to change this. Even if I don't agree with those Republicans, I hate what they stand for, I'm better off inside the moat than outside. I'll give it a shot. So we're interviewing these students as we speak. So Paul and I spoke the other day. We were talking about Marcus, whom FreedomWorks has agreed to host as an intern. So FreedomWorks is not just talking it, but they're backing it up by walking it. And they're going to take one of our interns too. That's him right there, Paul. We'll talk about it later. But they have agreed to host it. So they, on the other side of the fence, have said the same thing that these students have. He's right. We've got to do this. We've got to try. We've got to start putting real effort into making this happen. So these students are going to leave on June 3rd. They're going to work on Capitol Hill, except for the ones that work places like FreedomWorks. Maybe that'll be 2 or 3. And they are going to get their DNA changed this summer. And then they go back to their schools, they go back home, they go back to their parents, they go back to their fraternities. People say, what'd you do over the summer? Had a great time. Worked for Senator Rand Paul, worked for Mike Lee, worked for whoever I worked for, and boy, I want to tell you, my perceptions were completely wrong about these people. They don't hate us. They have some different views, but there's nothing wrong with that. So we're starting to change their DNA. These young people, we're checking 2 boxes. We're getting the millennials, and we're getting the future population of African Americans. Because you know what? These 19-year-olds will one day be 59-year-olds. And their recollection And their formative thoughts about conservatives and conservative policy is being established right here and right now. Now, is 9 or 40 enough to make a difference? Probably not. I know that. But you got to start somewhere. We haven't arrived, but thank God we've left. And how do I know that we didn't just host the next Allen West, the next Mia Love, the next Condoleezza Rice? I don't know that we haven't done that. So we are slowly but surely working on changing the DNA of these people one at a time. Because here's what Republicans wish we had. Here's what I wish we had. A magic wand. And we could just wave it, and by waving that thing, we magically affect 4 million people. 4 million black Americans, poof, suddenly realize, I'd love to have that thing, but I don't. The only way we can do this is one heart, one spirit at a time. One kitchen table, one street, one community. It's the only way. We have not yet arrived, but we've left. Thank you, Adam, for the opportunity to present to these people tonight. Brothers and sisters, I love you. Pray for us and for the success of this program, because in 10 years, 40 years, 70 years, after you and I we're dry, rotting bones, this program will have changed the world. Thank you.
Just 1 second, right?
Thank you.
So let me tell you something that he didn't say during his presentation in the conversations that we've had. Remember, he's bringing 40? He once told me I could bring 400. And then we talked about we're bringing them to Washington. Why don't we bring them to the state houses? Why don't we bring them to the county government? By the way, Florida A&M, no one's paying attention to. These kids are going to get job offers. He's helping these folks get employment. So I think I mentioned this. How many millions of dollars are going to be wasted in minority outreach by the GOP? And so I'm just like, look, honestly, I'm trying to raise money for Freedom Works this weekend. We're trying to raise money for candidates. But he could use a few shekels to get that number over 40. And we're going to try and do everything we can to support you.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you, brother. I'm going to personally commit to $103,000 next week. I'm going to. Yeah. Bless you. Let me get your card. There's 2.
So my goal in bringing these other groups in is I want to give you hope that there's so much. Yep.
Awesome. We're up to 44.
I know sometimes you get beaten down by watching the news, and you get beaten down by, like, are we winning, are we losing? Again, the reason I'm optimistic is I keep meeting people like this all the time who are doing incredible work, so it's almost impossible for me not to be optimistic. And one thing that's hard, I know that's hard for me when I talk to the activist community, is everyone's looking for the damn silver bullet. It doesn't exist. It's going to take grinded out person by person. This is why I'm a grassroots person. You don't solve problems. He starts here. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get bigger. And that photo is never going to happen again. And that's thanks to you, so congratulations. So because of that, I wanted to start a new, we at Freedom Works wanted to start a new award that we're going to give away every year here at Restore Liberty. And it's our Empowerment Award. And we're going to look around and see who's doing something unique in this country to bring our values, our free market, conservative, libertarian values to I don't know, could be to minorities, could be to young people, could be to old people. I don't care. I'm just looking for people who are doing an incredible job, doing something unique, solving a problem. So Derrick, thank you very much.
Appreciate you, man. This is awesome, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you.